Local schools are getting a significant investment. We're giving a glimpse to how the money is helping young students. Plus, this week marks the anniversary of two major events that changed Central Texas. We take a look at how it's changed our lives.
And we saw partly to mostly cloudy skies across the area today. A few sprinkles as well. And the wind, yeah, it's sticking around. That's probably going to be the case into the weekend. But when do our rain chances ramp up? Your 25 News starts right now.
Connecting the Brazos Valley. This is KRHD News.
When it comes to supporting local law enforcement, many people get creative. For one local nonprofit, it means backing the blue with bullet-resistant windows. And as the president of Operation Safe Shield explains, the community thinks it's a good way to do so too.
Oh gosh, it was beyond our expectations.
Operation Safe Shield, a relatively new organization to College Station, set low expectations for its first fundraiser.
Well, we were hoping for having between 300 to 400 people show up to support us.
Person to person, donation to donation, those hopes quickly doubled.
We had people in there that donated $20,000. We had people that were spending $10,000, $15,000 in the auction. They were doing entire cars for $7,500.
Raising over $300,000 to equip local law enforcement patrol vehicles, an initiative that's close to many.
If we protect them, then they can go home tonight and see their family. They're protecting us so we can go home and see our family. So why can't we give back to them for that?
The donations showing everyone the Brazos Valley cares about its officers.
People have short fuses and they're starting to shoot at police officers and stuff. So we need to protect them. And it's great to see that our community agrees with us 100%. This is a Texas thing.
And as it seems, it's a Brazos Valley thing.
We support law enforcement, and they showed it at the event. They really came out and went over expectations by a lot.
The College Station ISD Education Foundation held its grant showcase at two area schools today. KRHD News reporter Chris Talley went in the classroom to see how students are putting these grants to work.
More than $300,000 were gifted to College Station ISD teachers to use for their classrooms, and say these grants are helping enrich the minds of their students. From high school seniors getting ready for college to elementary students finding fun and learning, College Station ISD Superintendent Mike Martindale says it's never too early to invest in young minds.
Our Education Foundation gave out a record dollar amount of education grants to various programs and campuses within our school district. Today, the grant showcase is just a glimpse into the end product of those grants and the impact they have with our students.
Officials say grant programs help high schoolers get the skills needed for college and the workforce. Texas A&M student teacher Anna Fidwa says grants help special needs students too.
Being able to graduate with functional skills, means everything for our students. Being able to be employed, to have the social skills and the work experience, and get them to that next stage of life. That's really the whole goal of what we do here, is how can we equip them with skills that are going to take them through the rest of their lives.
Kimberly Decker says her health science theory and EMT students are more than prepared for a career in the medical field.
This is a model that allows us to actually palpate the intercostal spaces and find the correct placement. This will let us know through different lights if the leads are placed correctly or incorrectly, but it allows us to simulate different electrical rhythms with this machine, and then the students have practice interpreting it.
Decker says most of her students will graduate A&M Consolidated with a certification in EMT and EKG placement. One senior there says the grants are helping him get a jump start on a career.
For me personally, it's important because I feel like it's a step. My end goal is trauma surgery, and I wanted to know every level of healthcare. So becoming an EMT will allow me to get that idea of what happens when they're coming in, when one day, hopefully, I get to that level.
There's still something for everyone. Elementary students looked at exploring character diversity in literature. One fourth grade teacher says it's giving kids a bigger perspective.
Writing this grant, I knew I wanted these kids to see characters from different walks of life. I wanted our kids to interact with the books, but what we got was even more than that. Kids got to interact with other kids they wouldn't typically interact with, and they have developed so much empathy just for people in general.
From the students at A&M Consolidated High School to the kids right here at Spring Creek Elementary, they are all excited for the grants that have been gifted to them by the Education Foundation. I'm Chris Talley, and these kids have one thing to say.
KRHD News! With NASA making plans to return to the moon with future planetary missions, researchers at Texas A&M University are working to develop improved spacesuits for astronauts. Working in conjunction with Cornell University, experts in A&M's Department of Aerospace Engineering are developing a smart spacesuit. The suit will be used for extra activity on planetary surfaces and will provide 3 major improvements to current spacesuit designs, such as increased mobility, enhanced safety, and supporting knee joints.
Any gas pressurized spacesuit is gonna have some sort of mobility problems or mobility issues. So this technology we are hoping to combine with current gas pressurized spacesuits or future gas pressurized spacesuits to really help a little bit more facilitating that mobility.
The research in smart spacesuit designs will focus on more lower body movement. Current spacesuits place lots of fatigue on astronauts during scenarios where lower body movement, such as walking and kneeling, is needed. Mass comm students at Sam Houston State are experiencing new media through the metaverse. 25 News reporter Diamond Dixon shows us the new ways it's shaping college education.
The Mass Communication Department at Sam Houston State University has a new media platforms class introducing virtual reality through an Oculus headset.
The university says it's paving the way as students learn about emerging media and hold class in the metaverse.
This class has never met in person. I have never met this group of students in person. We never met on Zoom either. The only place we met was actually the virtual replica of our university's Barkat Plaza. And we meet in virtual reality. We have discussions in virtual reality, and really the entire class is conducted in virtual reality.
One senior says she found out through an Instagram post class would be held in the metaverse.
And I found out on Instagram, actually, I saw Wojtek holding like an Oculus in front of all these Oculus boxes, and the caption was, new media platforms will be held exclusively in VR, and I was like, no, this is a joke. I was like, wow, our world has changed a lot for me to be finding this out like on our school social media.
But students in the department are using the tech for all sorts of different projects.
The big assignment that my students are working on right now is actually making a short film in the metaverse. So in the same way that we make short films in this department using actors and using cinematographers and directors, it's exactly the same process, except that everybody, every single one of these team members is in virtual reality.
And it's giving students a chance to get creative.
The goal is to learn how to creatively make something with all these limitations, so just have fun with it and it'll be good. And we did. It was a lot of fun. It's just about a girl, me, at a fake VR bar just sitting alone, and these 2 guys kind of come to me and try to use their really bad pickup lines, and then I disappear on them.
Virtual reality is giving students the opportunity to experience what the future of the workplace will look like. Reporting in Huntsville, Diamond Dixon, Krhd News.
This past Tuesday marked 2 major events that changed the lives of Americans. The Branch Davidian siege and Oklahoma City bombing. Our in-depth reporter Nick Bradshaw made the trip to Oklahoma. He has the connection to Central Texas and how it changed life as we know it.
In Oklahoma City, reminders of history. From Automobile Alley
received information regarding
to the worst homegrown terrorist attack in U.S. history.
Sore, but very fortunate to be alive.
This is Amy Downs in 1995.
I'm just going to be sore, and I have a large cut on my leg.
18 of my 33 coworkers were killed.
And here she is today.
Over the last, 27 years, I have just really tried to make good on the promise to never live my life the same and to live it on purpose.
Night falls and along the fence are reminders of the Oklahoma City bombing.
It's unbelievable. And everywhere you dig, you find somebody.
All my friends are missing. The vicious animals that did this, their crimes are unspeakable, they're against humanity, they're unforgivable.
9:02 on April 19th, 1995. A bomb would go off. 168 people were killed. 19 of them were children. These are the photos.
Well, I think people want to know why, how did we miss this? How could this have happened? Why would an American want to take out his own people?
Both Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh upset about the Branch Davidian siege in Central Texas.
And they pulled up on the site where people were working or taking part in the government's business.
Timothy McVeigh parked that truck full of explosives. He would then go to a getaway car stashed away in an alley nearby.
It was absolutely horrendous. We were having our own memorial at the time when that happened, and the cameras came to us. They showed us the building smoke, and they said, "What do you think of this?" What do you mean? What do I think? This is absolutely horrendous. I didn't realize at the time, because it was caught very off guard, that they were trying to connect what happened at Mount Carmel to what happened at Oklahoma City.
One person did exit the compound with his hands up and that he has been taken into custody.
David was inside the building that went up in flames during the Branch Davidian siege.
The kingdom of heaven is coming. I promise you.
His book would turn into a miniseries called Waco.
Get on the ground now! Please stop! There are women and children in here!
And when they did this series, in the back of my head, I was very worried about someone watching it and becoming despondent over what had happened and maybe feeling a lot of rage and maybe wanting to take it out. So every chance I can, I say, you are doing nobody any good by taking lives in vengeance of Waco.
Many Americans thought it was government overreach.
No matter what faith, no matter what race, no matter what creed, we're all one people living on the same ball.
But now fast forward to today.
Oklahoma City is a different city than we were in 1995.
Just in the last year, federal police have seen an increase of threats to members of Congress by 107%. For Amy, it's been a different journey.
Over these years, I have gone back to school and I've gotten my degree and I've gotten my master's, and I worked my way from teller to CEO. And I ended up losing weight.
With hopes that the past will make us a little wiser. I'm Nick Bradshaw reporting.
Thousands of Ford vehicles on the road right now have been recalled. The automaker recalled more than 650,000 pickup trucks and SUVs. The company says the windshield wipers can break and fail. The recall covers certain F-150 pickups, Ford Expeditions, and Lincoln Navigators. Ford's F-Series pickups are the top-selling vehicles in the U.S. Dealers will replace both front windshield wiper arms. Owners impacted by the recall will be notified next month. Farmers need to be on the lookout for potential hackers. That's according to a warning from the FBI on Wednesday. Officials say cyber criminals might go after agricultural cooperatives during planting and harvesting seasons. Believing they could be more vulnerable and willing to pay off the extortion, the FBI says 6 grain companies were targeted last fall and 2 others have already been attacked this year. In a public advisory, federal officials say a major disruption of grain production would impact the entire food chain. The total number of people collecting jobless aid fell to its lowest level in more than 50 years. The Labor Department says jobless claims dropped by 2,000 to 184,000. Altogether, about 1.42 million Americans were collecting unemployment last week. That's the lowest number since 1970. The weekly jobless claim numbers reflect the continued progress in hiring during the pandemic.
Taking a look at our Clark Roofing Cam Sky in Motion. You can see that the clouds have been prevalent across the area for today. There's been a sprinkle or two out there as well, and that will continue into the overnight hours tonight, but nothing significant falling from any of these clouds, and we're anticipating that it'll stay pretty dry into Friday and Saturday the way it looks right now. Just no major storm systems approaching from the west over the next 48 hours or so, and you'll see that in our future track. It'll be cloudy in the morning. Maybe some patchy drizzle. I don't think we'll see much in the way of shower activity. Again, this likes to overdo things just a little bit in the morning hours. By the afternoon, partly cloudy skies and temperatures soaring up into the mid to upper 80s. And we're just going to say, let's do it again Saturday and stamp it over, as we will have mostly cloudy skies in the morning. Again, patchy drizzle possible, and then breaking out to partly cloudy skies with highs into the 80s going into the afternoon. And with the humidity, it'll probably actually feel closer to 90, as we will have plenty of that moisture to get that humid and muggy feeling for you. So tonight, temperatures will be down into the upper 60s and lower 70s. Then tomorrow, highs into the mid to upper 80s as we round out the work week here. And as we look at your 10-day forecast, we will see those temperatures into the mid to upper 80s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It will stay rather breezy as well, especially Friday and Saturday, coming down just a bit on Sunday as a cold front gets closer to the area. 20% chance of an isolated thunderstorm Sunday. I think better chances will stay north and west of us over the weekend. Then we head into Monday, and that actually could be a rainy day across the area. And as of right now, it doesn't look like the severe weather potential is all that high, but a couple stronger storms will be possible. And hopefully we can get some pretty good downpours in a few locations. 79 for a high, 77 on Tuesday with an isolated shower possible during the morning hours and then clearing out into the afternoon. And after that, the rest of the week looks quiet with highs returning to the mid 80s.
Inflation is driving up the cost of everything right now, but healthcare is especially taking a hard hit. Typically, inflation on healthcare is around 2 times higher than anything else. Healthcare benefit experts find it's usually about 6%. A recent study from HealthView Services projects healthcare inflation will stay at nearly 12% this year and next year. It's expected to go back down after that, but we could still see a long-term impact from this because experts say healthcare prices tend to keep going up even at a slower rate.
It shows up in your premium. And that's to me why it can be so difficult for a consumer to deal with this, is that it not only affects your monthly costs in terms of your premium share. Let's say you're getting your coverage through your employer, you're going to see your payroll deductions increase, and they have increased more quickly than wage gains for quite a few years.
Paul Seegert works with the health benefits consulting firm. He says your plan may not cover as much as it used to.
As a consumer, we have to learn to consume better. Even when you have an insurance plan and you have a set deductible and a set copay for a certain procedure, different providers may charge wildly different amounts for that procedure. And we do have to get better at consuming healthcare like we do other things.
Now, he also recommends setting more money aside for healthcare now, if you can, to prepare for what you're going to need in retirement. The report finds you shouldn't expect the cost of living adjustments in Social Security and Medicare to keep up with the increase in healthcare costs. Well, older people often visit the doctor more, but their race and ethnicity may be determining their health outcomes. The Commonwealth Fund found that 1 in 4 Black and Hispanic adults 60 and older have experienced discrimination from health professionals. They reported being treated unfairly or not having their health concerns taken seriously. As a result, they were more likely to have worse health. Improved education could help change how doctors view diverse patients. The medical illustration field is in the process of switching out an old default ideology to have better inclusivity. Lighter skin and European features have long been the industry standard. One study found fewer than 5% of major U.S. medical textbooks showed darker skin.
Even before you get to the treatment stage, it leads to misdiagnosis in the first place, because people are not, you're not realizing how this skin condition or condition could present on brown skin. And so if you're not learning that in school, when you're becoming a medical professional, how would you know to recognize it when you're actually dealing with the patient in the clinic?
Projects are now underway to recreate and add images of darker skin, but those in charge admit more needs to be done.
I wouldn't ever claim like the 2 examples that I gave don't indicate that, oh, everything's okay now. Not at all. Things are not okay now.
The Association of Medical Illustrators says they now advise clients about not only darker skin tones, but thinking about the disabled and the LGBTQ community. Our country can't reach its renewable energy goals without replacing fossil fuels. But research shows an overlap between where existing fossil fuel infrastructure is and where the greatest solar and wind generation is. Vanessa Mashanya found how fossil fuel communities can benefit from energy transitions.
The Valmy plant is the last coal-fired plant in the state of Nevada, and it's been on the blocks for probably 10 years to be decommissioned.
Through the black smoke, Jan Morrison tells me she can see the potential buried in this relic of fossil fuel past.
So you're not talking about taking an infrastructure and basically turning it into a rusty facility. It's going to be vibrant, and it's going to be a vital part of our energy grid.
This is the Valmy coal plant in Humboldt County, where Morrison is the economic development officer. She says the plant will be turning into a solar farm. What makes it desirable for that is location, location, location.
It is miles and miles and miles of desert. It's a perfect opportunity to develop solar fields.
According to Brookings, a lot of existing fossil fuel infrastructure like the Valmy plant happens to be where the strongest potential for renewable energy generation lies. Another plus of transitioning existing infrastructure to renewables, the connections are already there.
It has the infrastructure on the Western grid. I mean, it is a major hub. When you look at all the investment into that, why would you let that go?
According to the Environmental and Energy Study Institute, in 2019, the nation saw the second highest number of coal plant closures, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics say coal mining employment has dropped by more than half since 2012. Switching existing infrastructure to renewables can help save jobs, but for many communities, the switch is not easy, as cost is a major factor. The billions of dollars in the infrastructure bill should bring more incentives for these transitions, hopefully allowing a majority of the 1.7 million people who work in fossil fuels to keep their jobs.
People don't realize in a rural area how renewable energy friendly we already are.
As for Morrison, she's excited that her community gets to be on the front lines of the transition to a greener future.
The concept of renewable energy is very welcome out here. And then you step into the larger picture and everybody, of course, gets it.
I'm Vanessa Mashanya.
Vanessa, thank you for that report. Well, there's a push to recruit more Hispanic Americans, but finding the right diverse talent should no longer be a challenge.
There's no excuse in terms of saying that they do not exist, because we still hear that sometimes today.
We'll show you the resources to help you get hired. The U.S. Hispanic population reached more than 62 million in 2020. That's according to census data. They accounted for more than half of the country's total growth over the last decade. As you can see in this map from Pew Research, Hispanic Americans are also moving into new places, yet there's still a lack of representation in the workforce.
When you look across senior level roles across, for example, corporate America, Latinos represent 4%, and for women, Latinas, it's 1%. And so there's a need to really accelerate that, being that the community is huge economic contributors, looking at a 1.7 trillion purchasing power.
We're smart individuals, be able to perform at high levels. And I think the one thing, especially through my career, my journey, was given an opportunity.
Carlos Garcia is now Vice President of Finance at the Berea Restaurant Group. He credits his rise in leadership to long-standing company culture around diversity, equity, and inclusion.
And as a Latino myself, a proud Latino, I'm very comfortable, showcasing who I am in terms of my heritage, what my religion, the different things that I'm used to growing up as a Latino, and I'm very comfortable in the organization that I'm in now.
Garcia also did leadership training through the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement. He's part of the team now and networking with about 1,000 others over the next few days at the organization's 40th anniversary event. They shared these photos with us. Their goal is to create a pipeline of Latino talent and increase representation and inclusion.
I always say we're Latino is serving organization, not Latino exclusive. And so we invite everyone to be part of this movement that's critical more than ever, right? To ensure that we're building inclusive, equitable spaces, not only in our workplaces, but in our communities that we represent.
Now, this event is hybrid, so you can join virtually and learn how to work with the organization at haceonline.org. Preterm births are continuing to rise for Black women while they're dropping for other women.
Our health and wellness is really less determined by what actually happens in the doctor's office for the most part. It's mostly determined by how we live.
The environmental and social factors that are putting Black women more at risk.
This Aggie muster brings together students and alumni from across the globe. KRHD reporter Rebecca Fiedler shares the stories of Aggies who are taking part overseas.
This time-honored day of fellowship, bonding, and memorial is celebrated from Honduras to Saudi Arabia, from India to Germany. And dozens of Aggies will be holding their own services in international homes, restaurants, and military bases. Recent Aggie grad and soon-to-be med student Brock Jones has spent several months in Buenos Aires, Argentina, volunteering with the homeless shelter and school run by nuns. He hadn't met a fellow Aggie during his time there, and since he's been celebrating muster since childhood, he knew he wanted to host one now.
I went onto the association's website, put a muster announcement for Buenos Aires, and then had a few people reach out. And so tonight, I'm going over to meet him for the first time. I think he's a class of like 75. Aggies are always there to support Aggies and to meet other Aggies and to see, to share life and to share stories and remember the university that we all hold so dear.
Jones says he and these Aggies will eat a meal and share some stories about their times at Texas A&M. While their experiences are different, these Aggies feel a connection with one another, brought together by a common spirit. Reporting from Bryan, Rebecca Fiedler, KRHD News.
Along with muster ceremonies, another muster day tradition made its return, the annual muster barbecue. The barbecue, also known as the Camaraderie Barbecue, returned from the first time in 2 years after having been canceled and adjusted as a result of COVID-19. Along with the barbecue, lunch guests were also entertained by the Aggie Wranglers dance team, yell leaders, and pictures with Reveille.
Compared to last year where we had vouchers, it's very, very different because people last year, they would come, they would leave, and there was not a whole lot of that community. And this year, having people actually able to sit down, talk with others, talk with the class of 72, it's a really good feeling to see everyone actually all together and talking rather than just showing up and leaving.
This year's muster barbecue also welcomed back alumni from the class of 1972 who were there to share stories and old traditions of Texas A&M.
COVID cases across the world continue to drop. The news feed starts with the latest numbers from the World Health Organization. Around 5.5 million cases were reported last week, a 17% drop from the previous week. COVID-related deaths also dropped globally by 21%. Non-American travelers entering the U.S. through Canada or Mexico will have to continue showing proof of vaccination. DHS extended those COVID-19 vaccine requirements today. It says the move is meant to reduce serious illness and the likelihood of new COVID variants emerging. Slightly fewer kids are starting school with up-to-date vaccinations. That's according to an annual kindergarten vaccination assessment released today. Now the CDC is urging schools to play catch-up with increased follow-ups. Preterm births declined for the first time in 6 years in the U.S. last year, but in Black women, those numbers continue to rise. Dan Grossman explains how racism and discrimination are playing a role.
Tomato and avocado. With a voice meant for the heavens.
I call them recipes from God. I look and see what I have, and that informs what I'm making.
Chandra Brown prepares dinner in her cozy Baltimore home.
So, like, salads are pretty regular around here. What goes in it? Who knows? Who knows what's going in the salad?
But it's who she's preparing it for. Her 2 kids, Tano and Maylee, that nourish her soul.
That's why they're my master teachers. They keep me on my toes to be present and aligned for the best.
14 years ago, Amma gave birth to Tano. Most parents, especially moms, can relate to how that moment has changed their life. But with Amma, it was different because Tano was her first child to survive.
I've had 8 babies and I have 2 living children. I absolutely am present to the gift. What it means to have them, what it means to be in agreement with them, what it means to be a mama.
Nationwide, Black mothers like Amma experience preterm births at a rate far higher than their white counterparts. Last year, the preterm birth rate in the United States dipped from 10.2% to 10.1%. But in black mothers, it rose from 14.25% to 14.36%.
Our health and wellness is really less determined by what actually happens in the doctor's office for the most part. It's mostly determined by how we live.
Stacey Stewart is the president and CEO of March of Dimes, a leading nonprofit that works to improve health in mothers and babies. Along with other research organizations, it has found racism and discrimination are major contributing factors to these preterm births. Whether that's from reduced access to health care or the stress from directly bigoted remarks, Black mothers are 60% more likely to have a preterm birth than white mothers.
You see a deterioration in women's health over time and poor birth outcomes as a result of the effects that stress coming from the effects of racism and discrimination can have on a woman's body over time, and that can actually cause her to have poor birth outcomes over time.
I know I'm not alone, but it's an isolated journey.
It's something Amma experienced even with her 2 living kids. Tana was born 10 weeks early and Mei Lee 12 weeks early. It's why they're her miracles, as both are healthy children today.
They solidified my journey into being a well-being and knowing that I could do this, and I have been doing it, and we're all in it together. We're a great trio.
This is a family that has lived and endured.
I am fortunate.
And holds on to what was lost, but is still loved. I'm Dan Grossman.
Dan, thank you for that report. Well, more cities are looking at rent control as a solution to record high rent prices. Why experts say it may not work everywhere and how some churches are offering an alternative.
It has been a mostly cloudy day across the area today, but there hasn't been much in the way of rain. There could be a couple sprinkles out there as we head into the overnight hours tonight. This is likely overdone just a bit, maybe some patchy drizzle here and there with those clouds across the region. And yeah, it's starting to feel muggy outside. Definitely feeling very much like spring now. Then as we make our way into the afternoon, partly cloudy skies, temperatures will warm into the 80s, and we'll just do it all over again on Saturday with the clouds starting off in the morning. Again, a little bit overdone here, maybe some patchy drizzle here and there, and then a little sunshine in the clouds into the afternoon. And with the humidity, it's going to feel rather warm over the next few days, as temperatures at night only going to fall into the upper 60s and lower 70s in the morning. So it is definitely going to be a little muggy out there. And then tomorrow, highs will be in the mid to upper 80s, but it'll feel like it's 90 degrees when you factor in the humidity. So get ready for that, as we are going to be seeing quite a bit of that moisture across the region in the lowest levels of the atmosphere, but nothing really to lift that moisture the next couple of days. So we'll go partly to mostly cloudy skies, 87 degrees for a high Friday and Saturday. I think your Sunday is going to be okay as well. 87 for a high. Again, the humidity making it feel warmer. We're probably going to wait till Sunday night going into Monday as that front gets closer to the area to raise those rain chances. Hopefully we can get some pretty good downpours. The severe weather threat's not all that high, but there could be a stronger storm or two on Monday, and we'll continue to keep an eye on that. 79 degrees, then things start to taper off Tuesday, and it warms up thereafter.